official inauguration of the International Conference on Sexual and Reproductive Health. As we say, a warm welcome to Dr. Bandaranaike, the Secretary, Ministry of Health, Sri Lanka, who is joining us here this morning as our guest of honor. We're also joined by the Director Development and Impact Division, International Planned Parenthood Federation, Ms. Manuela Hertwitz, as our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite you to please stand in attention for the national anthem.
Sri Lanka Mata, Apa Sri Lanka, Namo, 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 Namo Mata. Sundara Siri Varini, Surani Ati Sobhamana Lanka. Vanya Alaya Kamal Palakuru Piri Jaya Sapa Siri Seta Sadhana Jivanaye Mata Piliganu Mene Apa Bhakti Puja Namo Namo Mata Apa Sri Lanka Namo
We now follow the tradition of lighting the oil lamp. Therefore, we invite the following dignitaries to please join in. Our guest of honor, Dr. Mahimpala, the Secretary, Ministry of Health, Sri Lanka, Ms. Manuela Hertwitz, the Director, Development and Impact Division for International Planned Parenthood Federation, joining us as our chief guest, Ms. Arini Marcelin, President, Board of Directors, FPA Sri Lanka, Dr. Ruchita Pereira, Executive Director, FPA Sri Lanka, Professor W. Indralal De Silva, Conference Chair, ReproSex 2024, Dr. Iqbal Shah, Research Scientist, Department of Global Health and Population of the Harvard University, who is joining us as our keynote speaker, Dr. Lakshmi Somatunga, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Health, Mr. Sanjeeva Vimalagunaratna, Director General, National Secretariat for Non-Governmental Organization, Mrs. DDGA Senaviratna, Director General of the Department of Census and Statistics, Mr. MKD Lawrence, Executive Director, Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, Dr. Ananda Vijayavikrama, President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. Chandima Siritunga, Director, Family Health Bureau, Sri Lanka, Dr. Asanti Fernando Balapitia, Deputy Director and Head of Health Communication and Life Skills Unit and the Media and the Public Unit of the Health Promotion Bureau for Sri Lanka, Dr. Vindhya Kumarapelli, Director, National STD AIDS, that's AIDS for Control Program, Sri Lanka, Professor Mahika Senavikrama, Director Central for Cancer Research, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, Professor Sunetra Pereira, President, Population Association of Sri Lanka, Dr. Asela Kalugampitia, Director, Center of the Evaluation, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, and we also invite Professor Piyusha Athapathu, President of Menopause Society of Sri Lanka, Mr. Kunle Adeni, Country Representative of the United Nations Population Fund of Sri Lanka, and Mr. Christian Skoog, Country Representative for UNICEF Sri Lanka, to please join in. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ReproSex 2024, the International Conference on Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights, organized by the Family Planning Association of Sri Lanka. Can we start by giving a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? It's the very first conference of its kind. For those who are visiting Sri Lanka for the very first time, a warm welcome to all of you, and those who have been here, thank you for making it happen. ReproSex 2024 breaks social barriers, amplifies marginalized voices, and fosters rights-based approach rooted in social justice and gender equity. This landmark event at the BMICH unites over 300 participants, including global leaders, as we say a warm welcome to our international delegates as well, and the healthcare professionals, activists, and policymakers to address the critical issues across 12 thematic tracks. Now, from reproductive rights and healthcare access to youth engagement, legal frameworks, and innovative SRH solutions, it's important, it's evident that we bring everyone together to discuss on its importance. So together, let's engage in a meaningful dialogue, share insights, and build partnerships that pave the way for the future, equity, dignity, and empowerment in SRH. Right at the outset, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor now to invite the President of the Board of Directors for FPA Sri Lanka. Please put your hands together for Ms. Aruni Marcelin to welcome you all this morning.
That's fine. Thank you. Distinguished guests, speakers, delegates, partners, colleagues, and friends. It is an honor to stand before you today as we open the doors to ReproSex 2024, Sri Lanka's first international conference on sexual and reproductive health. Today we gather not only to share knowledge, but to ignite a broader dialogue on sexual and reproductive health, bridging gaps between research, policy, and community impact. We are here because we know that the path to a healthier and more inclusive society must include access to comprehensive sexual and reproductive health care for all. My journey with FPA Sri Lanka began as a youth technical advisory committee member. Serving on that committee, I witnessed the profound importance of listening to young voices, of prioritizing their health, rights, and perspectives as a foundation for sustainable change. That experience ignited in me a lifelong dedication to SRH and reaffirmed that this work requires not just commitment, but bold action. Today, as President of FPA Sri Lanka, I'm deeply proud to see this conference come to life, realizing a vision that so many of us share, that of a healthier, more inclusive future. ReproSex 2024 is a timely gathering, considering global shifts in sexual and reproductive health, driven by new technologies, evolving policies, and demographic changes. While significant challenges persist, like adolescent health concerns, unmet family planning needs, rising subfertility, and rising demand for SRH services among underserved populations, this platform aims to collectively pioneer actionable solutions. FPA Sri Lanka's strategy, Boldly Beyond Boundaries, underscores a commitment to innovation, inclusivity, and global knowledge sharing, striving to position FPA Sri Lanka as a leader in delivering SRH services and a center for international collaboration. This conference has brought together some of the most dedicated voices, from academics to health professionals to policymakers, all committed to advancing SRH for all. Your work, your passion, and your expertise inspire us and set a strong foundation for a healthier and more equitable world. Let us use these 2 days to foster connections, challenge conventional approaches, and think beyond boundaries, just as FPA Sri Lanka has always strived to do. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has made this event possible: the technical committee, the organizing committee, our partners, sponsors, speakers, and of course, each one of you. Together, we are paving the way for a brighter future where every individual has the right and the means to make informed choices about his or her health and well-being. I look forward to the insights, discussions, and solutions that will emerge over these 2 days, confident that they will leave a lasting impact on our work and, more importantly, on the lives of the communities we serve. So thank you very much and welcome to ReproSex 2024.
In a world where health and rights intersect, ReproSex 2024 stands as a beacon of hope. Join us on November the 5th and 6th at the BMICH for a transformative conference on sexual and reproductive health and rights. Together, we'll explore groundbreaking research, share best practices, and advocate for a more just and equitable future. ReproSex, your voice, your rights.
And yes, that's where we are at, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with that message, thank you to Ms. Aruni Marceline for those very warm words and setting us the outline for today's event and welcoming everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very thrilled to have with us today the Secretary of the Ministry of Health, Sri Lanka. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we invite Palita Mahipala, the Secretary, Ministry of Health, Sri Lanka, our guest of honor, to address us at our inauguration ceremony.
Good morning to everyone. The Honorable Chief Guest, the most distinguished, most esteemed and most respected international delegates and experts, the President Sri Lanka Medical Association, all the other presidents of professional bodies, the country representative of UNICEF to Sri Lanka and country representative of UNFPA to Sri Lanka, all the other distinguished invitees, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure, supreme honor, and absolute privilege to welcome all the delegates on behalf of the Ministry of Health to represent Reproductive and Sexual Health 2024, the International Conference on Sexual and Reproductive Health being held at the BMICH today on 5th and 6th, today and tomorrow. This international conference marks a historic moment for Sri Lanka as we host for the first time, as already said by the Family Planning Association President, the global gathering dedicated to advancing the field of sexual and reproductive health globally, regionally, and locally. We are honored and delighted to bring together leading experts, policymakers, and practitioners from around the world to exchange knowledge, explore innovative approaches, and develop strategies to address the critical reproductive health challenges we face today. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this conference speaks directly to the fundamental role that the sexual and reproductive health plays in the well-being of the individual, families, and the societies. SRH is a cornerstone of public health and human rights, touching upon issues such as maternal health, family planning, the prevention of sexually transmitted infections, or STIs, and youth education. The discussion and outcomes from ReproSex 2024 will be vital in shaping the future of SRH both in Sri Lanka and globally. Colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, in Sri Lanka, improving SRH outcomes remains a priority, especially for our younger population. Currently, 1 in 4 Sri Lankans is between the ages of 15 and 29, highlighting the urgency of equipping young people with the knowledge and resources to make informed decisions about their sexual and reproductive health. Despite progress in recent years, gaps still exist in access to comprehensive reproductive health education, particularly in schools. Ministry of Health, working with the Ministry of Education very much on this, and we are trying our best to inculcate this among the young people who are undergoing the education in schools and universities at this moment. This is an area where we must focus our attention very much, and I am confident that the insights shared during this conference will contribute to developing more effective policies and programs where the experts from and around the world come here to share their experiences. Distinguished colleagues and friends, this event also underscores the importance of collective action. Sexual and reproductive health is an area that requires cooperation of many sectors, including healthcare, pretty obvious, education, and government, as well as other supportive groups and international partners. By working together, we can create systems that ensure SRH services are accessible to everyone, regardless of their location or circumstances. No one should be left behind. It is especially important to prioritize the needs of vulnerable populations, adolescents, women, and those living in underserved areas who often face the most significant challenges in accessing essential reproductive health services. I would like to take this opportunity to commend the Family Planning Association of Sri Lanka for its outstanding contributions to improve SRH across the country. I think FPA has a long history for serving many decades to Sri Lankan community. I'm sure it's more than 5-6 decades now. FPA has been at the forefront of delivering services, raising awareness, and advocating for SRH rights in Sri Lanka. Their efforts have been instrumental, shaping and reshaping national policies and extending SRH services to those who need them the most. The ongoing partnership between FPA, the Ministry of Health, and the other stakeholders has significantly contributed to the advancement we have seen in family planning, maternal health, and youth empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the indicators where you compare the countries in our region, Sri Lanka is doing very well. The contraceptive prevalence rate is above 70%. I think it is 72. We have the Family Health Bureau Director is with us. And also, if you look at the maternal mortality rates, we have the lowest in the region. Those are as a result of all these efforts we have taken together. Ladies and gentlemen, ReproSex 2024 serves as both a platform for knowledge sharing and a call to action. That is very important. It's not only sharing knowledge, we have to call for action. As we move forward, we must continue to work together to ensure that sexual and reproductive health is recognized as a priority at all levels of public health. This conference offers an excellent opportunity for all participants, whether from the government, civil society, academia, or healthcare sector, to contribute to meaningfully and engage in discussions from new partnerships and collaborate on innovative solutions. The work we do here has the potential to significantly impact the health and well-being of individuals, not only in Sri Lanka, but as I said, around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the organizers of ReproSex 2024 for their dedication and hard work in making this important event a reality. I'm particularly thankful and grateful to our Professor Indralal for inviting me to be here, present here today to witness this great event. I also extend my sincere thanks to our international partners whose collaboration and support have been invaluable. Let this conference inspire us all to reaffirm our commitment to improve sexual and reproductive health and to continue working towards healthier, more equitable future for all. And we are working for the well-being of the people, not only in Sri Lanka, but globally. I thank you.
International Conference on Sexual and Reproductive Health. Universal access to sexual and reproductive health as a right for all. Youth and comprehensive sexuality education. Gender-based violence, national and international perspectives. Emerging demographic dynamics and SRHR in Asia. Innovation approaches for prevention and testing for HIV. Abortion and South Asia, context and consequences. Child marriage, causes and consequences. Diversity and inclusion in SRHR. Menopause and aging related issues. Advancement and challenges in cervical, breast and prostate cancer. Menstrual hygiene and period poverty. Engaging youth as change agents for SRHR in a humanitarian setting. Improving SRH interventions through equity focus and gender responsive evaluations. SRHR and subfertility. 150 abstracts from 20 plus countries. 50 oral presenters, 50 poster presenters. November 5th and 6th at BMICH. 1 keynote speech. 5 plenary sessions. 8 mini symposia sessions. 8 parallel sessions. Exhibition stalls and model medical camp. 100 speakers, 50 panelists. 350 participants from 25 plus countries.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that setting, it is my honor now to invite our conference chair, Professor W. Indralal de Silva, Emeritus Professor of Demography, University of Colombo. Please give a warm round of applause to our conference chair to unveil the setting for this year's conference.
Good morning to all of you. The chief guest of the conference, Ms. Manueli Hervist, Director, Development and Impact Division, International Planned Parenthood Federation. Our guest of honor, Dr. Palitha Mahipala, already left of course, but Secretary Minister of Health, Sri Lanka. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Iqbal Shah, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Boston, and also his wife. And also Ms. Aruni Mazaleen, the President of Sri Lanka Family Planning Association of Sri Lanka, and Dr. Richard Perra, Executive Director, Family Planning Association. And also I know that there are various dignitaries representing UN branches, UNFPA, UNICEF, and so many. Welcome all of you. And also particularly I have to welcome all my team, the technical committee members. We have large number of technical committee meetings. Therefore, welcome all the technical committee members and also chairpersons of the various sections and also members of the various preparatory, preparation of documents and contact information. There are a lot of Family Planning Association people also involved. Therefore, welcome all of them. And also particularly, I would like to say thank you very much for the abstract reviewers, because we have received more than 150, 160 abstracts. Therefore, we need to review them in a very short period of time. Therefore, all the abstract reviewers has given their full support to us. And also, particularly the paper presenters and also poster presenters who are here, we welcome all of them. And also there are a number of special invitees like Medical Council, and also there are so many other dignitaries are here. And finally, dear participants, it is with great pleasure that I welcome all of you to the International Conference on Sexual and Reproductive Health 2024. This is the first event in Sri Lanka exclusively discussing about sexual and reproductive health and rights. Well, of course, as outlined in the conference material, you will get the conference material soon. In addition to the keynote speech, Dr. Iqbal Shah, the keynote speaker, the conference will feature 8 abstract presentation sessions and also 5 plenary presentation sessions and 8 symposiums, and also the poster presentation session outside this hall. In these sessions, various aspects of SRH and rights will be the focus of presentation and discussions. As I mentioned, we have received more than 150 abstracts, and we received from various countries in the world, including USA, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, Indonesia, Malaysia, Maldives, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Ethiopia, Benin, and there are some other countries, the long list. Therefore, I'm not going to tell you all the countries, but we have selected out of this 150. After doing blind review, we have selected only 48 abstracts for the oral presentations. And oral presentations will take 8 sessions. And today, we will have 4 oral presentation sessions in the same flow. And also tomorrow, we are going to have another 4 oral presentations of abstracts in the same flow. Therefore, all the activities of this conference take place in the same flow, because I think there are a lot of foreign participants. As I know that there are nearly 80 or 100 foreign participants are there. Therefore, you need to stay in the same flow for various activities. And then the well-known speakers will present on different thematic areas of SRH and rights during the plenary and symposiums. As I mentioned that we are going to have 5 plenary and 8 symposiums. Although there is no specific plenary session dedicated solely for Sri Lanka, tomorrow morning The plenary will highlight important changes in demographic drivers and SRH issues in both Sri Lanka and South Korea. Because we have selected South Korea because South Korea is very advanced in demographically, and the lowest low fertility in the world reported by South Korea, and to get their experience and what they are doing and so on, we have requested one professor from South Korea to come and present, but he is unfortunately unable to come, but we will make sure that presentation will continue. Therefore, this conference is going to be something very important for all the participants as well as for all the presenters, because some of the presenters, it may be the very first time coming to Sri Lanka. Therefore, it is a good experience for all of them. Finally, in closing, I would like to congratulate everyone involved in this significant event and wish you all the fruitful conference, and we will see you in all the events later on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for outlining us on the importance of the event, our conference chair, ladies and gentlemen. This is a dance performance and we're getting ready now, ladies and gentlemen, something very cultural, something that speaks of Sri Lanka.
A grand king, a kind, intelligent man, one who detested fighting, yet was said to have the strength of 1,000 sons. The story, pride and legacy of the king with 10 heads, King Ravana. Presented to you by the best of Sri Lankan talent, Rangagange Performing Arts Foundation.
moving on to another important milestone of today's event, being the inauguration ceremony of the International Conference of Sexual and Reproductive Health. Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to present the conference proceedings in the form of a volume. I know some of you may have already received this, but the official presentation will be done now. I have the pleasure of inviting the Executive Director for FPA Sri Lanka, Dr. Ruchita Pereira, together with Professor Indralal De Silva, our conference chair, to please join me on stage as we present the first volume of the publication. Ladies and gentlemen, to the following dignitaries. First, we'd like to invite our chief guests to join us on stage to receive the first publication. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Ms. Manuela Hurwitz, Director, Development and Impact Division, International Planned Parenthood Federation. And next, we'd like to invite you, ma'am, the President of the Board of Directors for FPA Sri Lanka, Ms. Aruni Marcelin. Applause, everybody. President, Board of Directors. And we also invite our keynote speaker, research scientist, Department of Global Health and Population of the Harvard University, Dr. Iqbal Shah. Let's have a quick group photograph. Yeah, with our dignitaries, a quick group photograph. Thank you very much. Maybe a quick photograph. Yeah, there we go. Big smiles. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the address by our keynote speaker. But first, I have the pleasure of once again inviting our conference chair, Professor W. Indralal De Silva, who will introduce you to our keynote speaker. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to Professor Indralal De Silva.
Well, in 1994, I met Dr. Iqbal Shah during the implementation of the WHO major project on reproductive health research initiatives in South Asia. It was a major project implemented by WHO, and all the South Asian countries, I can remember there were more than 25 or 30 researchers, Sri Lanka, and then large number from India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and some other countries came together. The project was Reproductive Health Initiatives. That was held in 1994. I met Dr. Iqbal Shah by that time. And I also presented a research project on pubertal morbidity, and that was selected. Therefore, I was lucky to get his advice and also his cooperation. Therefore, we had actually a consultative team or advisory team. That team comprised by that time Professor John Cleland, London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and also Dr. Iqbal Shah from the WHO, and also Dr. Sherin Gigi Boy, and there were so many other people, and also counterpart from India was Indian Medical Council and also Population Council, and there were so many other agencies were supported that research initiatives in South Asia. I had an association with Dr. Iqbal from 1994. Therefore, let me now introduce Dr. Iqbal Shah in a very formal way. Dr. Iqbal Shah holds MA in Sociology, MSc in Public Health, and PhD in Demography. He is currently a visiting scientist at the Department of Global Health and Population, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Actually, we call Harvard School of Public Health, but sometime later they have changed the name Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health to represent one very good scholar came from China. And then he is currently a visiting scientist and he's a consultant to the Population Council USA from 1985 to 2012. Dr. Iqbal Shah was Chief of Science, Social Science and Operation Research and Coordinator for Preventing Unsafe Abortion at the World Health Organization headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland. In 2016, he received the Marijo de Sihon Operation Research Award from USAID in recognition of his dedicated efforts to building the capacity of social science researchers in developing countries, generating and utilizing research for policy development, and improving the lives of women and girls through better access to reproductive health care. In 1996, he received the European Society Contraception Prestige Award for Excellence in Clinical Research. He has published over 100 papers, including 7 in Lancet and 10 in BMJ, and also he has also co-edited 6 books, and also many conferences he had made and visited Sri Lanka many times. His research focused broadly on sexual and reproductive health and rights, particularly in low and middle income countries, and also on the family planning, abortion, infertility, adolescent sexuality, and reproductive health. In fact, there's another important thing. Dr. Iqbal Shah was the principal research scientist of the multi-country study, including Sri Lanka, Nepal, Tanzania, implemented by, again, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, Boston. It was a somewhat long project, and the college also participated in this whole exercise, Obstetricians and Gynecology College, and he has visited Sri Lanka many times, and it was implemented, as I remember, from 2015 to 2019, quite 4 or 5 years. Therefore, he has visited Sri Lanka many times, and he has visited South Asia many times, and also have worked with large number of South Asians and many people in the world, has a very good knowledge about our countries, and his keynote speech will be quite important for all the participants to understand the world scenario, particularly the South Asian scenario on sexual and reproductive health.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Professor Inderlal. It's an honor to be introduced by Professor Inderlal, who is a global health leader and also very well known, much more than me for sure. I like to thank him, and I like to thank the organizing committee, technical committee, as well as all the sports staff that made it possible for me to get this honor to speak to you. Speaking about young people or adolescents, it's very difficult for anyone, but more so by someone who was an adolescent decades ago. It's even doubly difficult to speak when your spouse is among the audience, and especially in the front row, but I shall try. So one is confronted with the question, what do you know about adolescence? So I reflect on the studies that were supported by WHO on young people, and Professor Indralal already mentioned about them. We had the largest number of studies many years ago. In addition, I like to let the data speak. So I thought we often think about adolescence as, troublesome issues and so forth, but we have often glossed over contributions people have made while they were themselves teens. So a few examples, there are lots of examples. Start with Wolfgang Mozart, as many of you would know. He wrote his first opera at the age of 11. Next, you see Greta Thunberg. She started protesting on climate change when she was only 15 years old, and she had a global impact. As you know, millions of young people and old people got really sensitized about the issue of climate change. Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan, she actually was advocating for the education of girls, and she got a Nobel Peace Prize at the age of 17. Down, you see John D. Rockefeller. He started his first business when he was only 19 years old with $2,000 with his neighbor. And then not in a long time, he was millionaire and billionaires. Of course, you have heard or seen on TV at least, Mark Zuckerberg, who started Facebook at the age of 19. Bill Gates actually self-taught himself programming at the age of 13, and he was only 19 when he co-founded the Microsoft. And actually, he didn't finish his studies at Harvard. He only did 3 semesters, and then he left. If he had completed his education, you know where he would have been. There are many teenagers and young people. They are making a difference right here in Sri Lanka and in the region. We hardly know about them. Not all of them get recognized by media. But very recently, 2 weeks back, there was a Sri Lankan artist who was shown in BBC painting 10 painting at the same time, where he was very creative. I was very impressed. So, okay, I just wanted to highlight that you don't have to be old to be inventing something. There are many who have started right when they were very young age. So let's, okay, so as you see, I spoke about teenagers and adolescents. There are so many terms that people use and not always defined. UNICEF, WHO, UNFPA, and then Lancet Commission, they have now very clearly defined different ages. Adolescence is 10 to 19, and the youth are from 10 to 24, 15 to 24, and likewise young people 10 to 24. So there are different age range. But the point is not about the age difference. Even within the same age group, some people are mature and older, and some older people are immature and younger. So, but for the reference of demographic analysis, you have to know exactly which age groups you are doing. But you cannot imagine that they are all homogeneous in terms of the age characteristics. I think the most important age group is on the top, the very young adolescents, age 10 to 14. This is where most of the transformation takes place. And this is where, if one has to make an impact, should be focusing on. Young people, adolescents, let me be clear, 10 to 19, are 1.3 billion strong. This is the largest cohort of adolescents in history, and they are continuing to grow. Africa is young. Most of the African population, 30 to 35%, is young in the age group of 10 to 24. In the region, Nepal, Pakistan, and Afghanistan fall in that category with more young people. Very briefly, as I mentioned, this green line is about those who are 15 to 24, the youth. They will continue to grow for some time. Actually, it will not be until almost the end of this century that their proportion will go down. But it has started to already taper off and slowly go down. So the current, we start with the opportunities. The current generation of adolescents have opportunities that the older generation didn't have. There are so many different possibilities that we have now. Professor Inderlal, in his landmark book, referred to it as screen age. So the young adolescents are now in the screen age. There is social media. So data show that on average in the world, there are at least 2 people who spend time on average every day is about 2 hours, 3 minutes. And the highest number of hours are those who are in Kenya, followed by in South Africa, it's more than 3 hours. Now, this is an average. Some may be spending 10 hours, and some may be spending just half an hour or very little. Among the countries on the left above the world average is India, where it is expected that they are spending at least 2 hours on average, 2 hours, 3 minutes on social media. It's not just internet, but solely focusing on the social media for entertainment. If you look at the uses of Facebook, actually it's the most used social media. It has been estimated that 3.1 billion monthly use Facebook actively, followed by 2.5 billion on YouTube. So these are the two most commonly used. And you imagine the size of population that is using Facebook and YouTube, among other options. Now, let's turn to the good news. There are good news. It was referred already. The births to the adolescent girls have declined. It reached peak early 2000, and then it began to decline. In South Asia, overall, it declined. It declined in Bangladesh from 140 per thousand to 92 in 2022. In India, it declined from 116 in 1992, 93 to 43 per thousand in 2019 and 21. In Nepal, it declined from 187 in 1996 to 71 in 2022. 74 in Pakistan, it was low, 74 in 1991, and it declined to 46 in 2017 and 18. Professor Indalal kindly shared the information and about Sri Lanka, which unfortunately I didn't have it before. So in Sri Lanka, actually the rate was low already, as it was pointed out. Sri Lanka has been the leader in terms of sexual reproductive health, in terms of many of the reproductive health indicators, whether it is fertility, contraceptive use, mortality. So it has been always there in terms of the best indicators in the region. So it was 32 per thousand in 1987. It declined to 27 in 2000, and then it further declined to 21 in 2016. So there has been a substantial and concrete evidence of a decline in age-specific fertility rate for those who were in the age of 15 to 19. Likewise, it has been an increase in contraceptive prevalence among women who are 15 to 24. It has been increasing from 31.6% to 55.5% in Bangladesh. It has been less dramatic in India and Nepal. In Pakistan, it increased from a very low of 5.1% in 1990 and 91 to 3 times to 15.4% in 2017 and 18. But challenges remain. There are risks, some continue to persist, and there have been some new. So the new challenges actually come at the downside of the challenges actually can be put in terms of a life cycle approach. So at a very young age, before in the teens, 10 to 14, 15 to 19, so they are encountering risks which are whole series of bullying, physical violence, unhealthy diet, alcohol abuse, smoking. Most of the adults who smoke, they actually started smoking when they were in teens or adolescents. So there are many risks that actually get started when They are very young and they persist up to older age. And in fact, some of them get even transferred to the next generation. So on the other side, if you look at it in terms of reproduction, so it starts with having love affairs, having first sex, having marriage, having first child. So there are all this cycle of starting with sex to childbearing and postpartum. So I'd like to bring this is the seminal work done by Professor Indralal, actually one of the most comprehensive study that I've seen in the region related to Sri Lanka. We put together, edited by Professor Indralal. I wish other countries have done something similar. So either they don't do it, or if they do it, they don't publish it. I had followed the framework because Professor Indralal talked about the risk factors and then moving on to the sexual reproductive health. So I have been very informed by his publication. Okay, so let's start with the two risk factor, which has also come about to some extent with the progress in technology and all the things with the internet. So here you see that more boys than girls get bullied at the age of 12 to 15, school age. And in fact, in each country, it's boys who get bullied, who are victims of bullying than girls. And I was a bit surprised, and maybe someone can shed light, that Sri Lanka has a high rate of bullying with no change between 2008 and 2016. High in Thailand and Indonesia, especially among boys. Now, it's possible that there's a more reliable reporting in these countries, and it's not the actual incidents, but I was a bit surprised. Something similar is also noted for the physical violence, which is also high in case of Sri Lanka, similar to what we saw in bullying. There are data on smoking among the very young, school-going age young people, about drug use, about the increase in suicide, about the lack of physical exercise, poor diet, and other unhealthy practices. But for the sake of brevity, I have not made graphs. And so let us now turn to sexual and reproductive health. So the onset of, so the data are scattered if you look at on the figures here, which is related to the onset of sexual intercourse. But the good thing to note is that there is a decline from 28.3% in 2011 to almost half, to 14.4 in 2022 in Bangladesh. And also there is a decline in India from 12.5 to 3.4. So there has been a decline in all of these countries, even though the data are scattered. Not all countries report about something sensitive, which is considered to be not to be reported or shared. So here, these are related with the 15 to 19 in terms of their early childbearing, and they also decline in terms of those who have sex also declined, and also decline in terms of who have ever had sex. And this was declined from high figures to lower. The percentage of teenagers who had begun childbearing has reduced from 25.4% to 37.9% in Bangladesh, and from 27.1 to 16% in India, and 23.9% to 13.1% in Nepal. So there has been a trend, even though it's not as dramatic as age-specific fertility rate. Over. Okay. Now, thanks to Professor Indralal and Ranjit, they shared some information about the unmarried, which was more available in Sri Lanka than in case of India and in case of Bangladesh or Pakistan. So you can see here that the proportion saying men or female about the young people 15 to 19 in Sri Lanka that they have had a love affair or sex is it's quite high about the young people reporting, self-reporting about having had affair, having dating, but the sex, initiating of sex in the age group of 15 to 19 was low, but more so it was increased in higher in among the women than in the men. So from this one, we see that the progress have been made, but the challenges persist. One of them is, of course, the use of contraceptives, which is reported, and that has also been improved. The unmet need remains, and it's quite substantial among the younger age group. So let me now conclude, and actually, I was going to leave it for you to decipher. But what we see here is that that there has been a substantial progress in the reduction of child marriage, in reduction of fertility among the young 15 to 19, in terms of the early childbearing before the age of 20. So there have been all these positive progress that have been made. But at the same time, there are issues still remain, which continue to be the lack of sexuality education, and also there is continue to have the unmet needs, especially among the young people. So, okay, in terms of the recommendation, I think the study shows actually, a number of studies show, including some in Pakistan, that the young people have very poor knowledge of the whole reproduction, sexuality. So there is a great need of sexuality education at the young age, especially the age group of 10 to 14, where all of these ideas get transformed and built in. So the other one is that we, for some reason, have been focusing on women, young women, but the men get neglected. And in fact, in many studies, when we speak about their interest and their concerns, we find that the men have just very worried about unwanted pregnancy, making someone pregnant, as the women themselves. So most of these countries have actually not looked at this group of young men who are in need of also attention and intervention. And yeah, so we also know with the technology revolution, there should be new ways of reaching these young people. This is the source of information for most of them. And unfortunately, because of the proliferation of the websites and not always correct information is transmitted. So whenever there is some issue, people go to search, find the solution, and you find so much misinformation. So there is some control that needs to be done, I think, where government and NGOs can actually make an impact to provide information. We had a study in China where such a project was implemented with some counseling given by professional staff, and that had made an impact in terms of improving not only knowledge but also sexual practices among the young people. So there is a whole potential of using social media to provide information and resources to young people who are most in need. But I think most important, we leave many things to the government or to the NGOs, but there are also that we individually can do, and which is actually just get more interaction with the young people, giving time to them, and not think, okay, he's on the TV or she's on the computer, okay, that's fine, we don't have to find time. So I think young people, they lack this information that they used to have in the high fertility when their sisters, elder sisters, or elder brother or cousins would actually give them not only knowledge but also care and advise them. That possibility has reduced. So this is where I think the social media with the proper knowledge can be quite instrumental. So I think on an individual level that is something that is quite simple and easy to do and should be refocused. So I leave this presentation with the statement from the Director General of WHO that young people is the future. So when you say future, the future is now, and that now is the young people who is going to be with proper coaching, proper information can make a difference. And actually, if they get neglected, there is many risks to them and to the nations. So there is a whole agenda, a lot of things to be done, but as this Chinese philosopher said, that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a small step. So I think the very first step is a recognition of the issues and the care that is required from all, including the NGOs and governments and individuals. And I would like to close by saying that NGOs like Family Planning Association and others have contributed so much to make the change in terms of sexual and reproductive health, all the positive changes in terms of reduction in child marriage and young people's fertility owes to the concerted efforts by the NGOs and also by the government. So this is something that can be extended to other areas that have been neglected. So I hope that will be something as our call for action. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing us with that very keynote and influential message with those stats as well. Dr. Iqbal Shah, our keynote speaker, research scientist, Department of Global Health and Population of Harvard University. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one more cultural item coming up, and once again we have the Ranga Gamage Performing Arts Foundation all set to entertain you with something very traditional.
සේදමාවත දිගේ කෙම් බිමට දොර හැර තිබේ මේ මංමාවත් දිගේ මුණ ගැසෙන නව යුගයේ අපි ඉන්නේ
සේදමාවත දිගේ කෙම් බිමට දොර හැර තිබේ
මේ මංමාවත් දිගේ මුණ ගැහෙන නව යුගයේ අපි ඉන්නේ අතීතේ ලයට ලයපා ලබා දුන්නට අදින උරුමේ මාබිමානෙන් මෙයින්ම ලියලා ලබා දුන්නට මේ පින් වහිමේ ස්තුති ස්තුති ශ්‍රී ලංකා ස්තුති ස්තුති ශ්‍රී ලංකා Hey, hey, hey.
ගාන මුහුදුවාදී මේ යෝධගගුල් සිඹිනා
රෑ සීත නල රැල් පවා සුවනයි අපේ සුවනයි මේ එන්නේ
ගාන මුහුදුවාදී මේ යෝධගගුල් සිඹිනා රෑ සීත නලරල් පවා සුවනයි අපේ සුවනයි මේ එන්නේ
ලෝකෙම අපි ගැන අපිටම පුදුම හිතේවි සත්‍යකින්ම අද ලෝඅනන්තට අතට අතදී බෙදා දුන්නට අපි සිරිය සිරිය ස්තුති ස්තුති ශ්‍රී ලංකා ස්තුති ස්තුති ශ්‍රී ලංකා සීසාන ගල් කුළු පුරා සරුසාර අස්වනු සදා බෝ ආයු පුදනා තුරා සැක නැතුවයි බය නැතුවයි ඉන්නේ සීසාන ගල් කුළු පුරා නිති සරුසාර අස්වනු සදා බෝ ආයු පුදනා තුරා සැක නැතුවයි බය නැතුවයි ඉන්නේ අපි ගැන ලෝකෙම අපි ගැන අපිටම පුදුම හිතේවි සත්‍යකින්ම අද සෝබාදහමේ සැබෑ ලස්සන ලබා දුන්නට විඳගන්න
අකුදුරේ කිරෙන් පරලවි ඔටුනු හිසදරු අපි ඔබේ දරුකෝ නොවේ කොයි දෙතක් මැදිරි ගයදිවා සදා ඔබේ අගේ
சீரத்தை வீருக்கு கொண்டம் உயர உயர செல்லும் உலகம் வியக்குனா ஒரு தாய் மக்கள் இயற்கை எங்கும் வளம் உழைப்பு எங்கள் வரம் சிகரம் இலங்கையே
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the address by our chief guest, Director, Development and Impact Division of the International Planned Parenthood Federation, whom we're very thrilled to have here in Sri Lanka and to grace us at our inauguration ceremony and conference. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Ms. Manuela Hurwitz.
Dear colleagues, distinguished partners, allies, dear friends, it is a profound honor to join you all today at the opening of the ReproSex 2024 conference. to see the gathering of experts, researchers, advocates, and visionaries who have come together here in Sri Lanka fills me with great joy. This conference is a landmark, and it represents an essential milestone for sexual and reproductive health, not only for Sri Lanka, but for the global community. I want to particularly acknowledge the leadership and the board of FPA Sri Lanka, Professor Indralal de Silva, in having the foresight and the courage in organizing a conference on sex reproductive health and rights at such a critical time. Because sexual and reproductive health and rights has never been as important as today. In 2024, the world marked the 30th anniversary of the 1994 International Conference on Population and Development, ICPD, in Cairo. Since then, the global rate of unintended pregnancy has fallen by nearly 20% globally. The number of women using modern contraceptive methods has doubled. Today, at least 162 countries have adopted laws against domestic violence, and maternal deaths have decreased by 34% since 2000. These are unmistakably significant achievements. Yet, limited political will, inadequate funding, health workforce shortages, and the prioritization of certain aspects of sexual and reproductive health and rights over others have hindered progress. And millions of people are still denied access to fundamental sexual and reproductive health and rights. A recent study from the Lancet has shown that progress in reducing maternal deaths plateaued between 2016 and 2020. And in 2024, roughly 1 out of 10 women worldwide who want to stop or delay childbearing are not using a method of contraception. Abortion remains criminalized in many countries of the world, in spite of ongoing evidence that criminalization does not reduce abortion rates, but rather increases maternal morbidity and mortality due to unsafe abortion. Changing demographic patterns with fertility declines in some regions and rapid growth in others present additional complexities. Gender and socio-economic inequalities and discrimination have widened, leaving some communities behind, and attacks against sexual and reproductive rights have intensified with increased risk to frontline sexual and reproductive health defenders and providers. Humanitarian crises multiply. You just need to see the news every day, including climate emergencies and conflicts, further exacerbating gender inequalities and limiting people's access to sexual and reproductive health. The United Nations estimate that 300 million people will need humanitarian assistance and protection in 2024. And as you heard from Dr. Iqbal Shah, today's 1.3 billion adolescents are not only the largest age group, but also the most diverse the world has ever seen. For them, progress is never fast enough, and ensuring they have access to information and services through meaningful engagement remains a priority. Today is a big day, not only because it's the start of this important conference, but because the US is voting. And the implication of a Trump administration will go on sexual and reproductive health and rights, will go not just beyond sexual and reproductive health and rights, and also not just beyond the US, but will impact us far wider. It will impact funding, as well as the erosion of democratic norms and the shrinkage of civil space. So we'll have a couple of probably days to see whether to fear the worst or to breathe a sigh of relief. These challenges could be paralyzing, but our sector is strong and resilient. On the contrary, what this shows is the critical role that non-governmental organizations like IPPF and country partners like FPA Sri Lanka, as well as partners from the academic world, community-based organizations, and supportive donors continue to play in meeting sexual and reproductive health and rights needs. Together, we can take advantage of the many opportunities that exist. Dr. Iqbal Shah mentioned a couple already offered by new technologies, and there are others offered by new product development, whether in contraception, medical abortion, or biomedical prevention of HIV, to just give a few examples. At the International Planned Parenthood Federation, we are deeply committed to advancing research and fostering knowledge sharing. This commitment is enshrined in our strategy, Come Together, specifically through the pillar of innovate and sharing knowledge. Research and evaluation are not mere technical exercises. They are the foundations that empower us to understand, improve, and innovate in response to evolving needs. In all our work, we strive to create evidence-based programs that are impactful, inclusive, and transformative. ReproSex 2024 aligns beautifully with this mission. It is a testament to the spirit of innovation, evidence, and partnership that is at the core of IPPF's values. It is through conferences like this that we realize the full power of collaboration, bringing together minds that are eager to share, listen, and learn. These exchanges are the bedrock upon which we build policies and programs that will foster progress and create lasting change. For IPPF and member associations, ReproSex represent a unique opportunity to reflect on the progress we have made, as well as the work that still lies ahead. This conference underscores the significance of having strong, committed member associations like FPA Sri Lanka that are unafraid to lead, to challenge, and to innovate. As one of IPPF's oldest member associations, established over 70 years ago, FPA Sri Lanka holds a special place in our federation. Throughout its journey, FPA Sri Lanka has demonstrated a steadfast commitment to advancing sexual and reproductive health and rights to all Sri Lankans. Today, I am especially inspired by FPA Sri Lanka's commitment to fostering a result-based culture driven by data. I would like to thank FPA Sri Lanka again for having the vision to bring us together as a strong and united movement, giving space for research and evidence to be shared and discussed, and for learning from program implementation to be disseminated. I carry the best wishes from IPPF Director General, Dr. Alvaro Bermejo, and the Regional Director, Tomoko Fukuda. I know both of them would have been delighted to be here in person and will be here in spirit. Let us enjoy this conference. I know it will inspire us, excite us, and bring us closer together while allowing evidence and new ideas to flourish. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here and for also highlighting the importance of today's conference. To propose the vote of thanks and the closing remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of inviting the Executive Director for FPA Sri Lanka. Please put your hands together for Dr. Ruchita Pereira, ladies and gentlemen.
As we reach the conclusion of the opening ceremony for ReproSex 2024, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each of you for being part of this historic event. This conference represents a new chapter in the field of sexual and reproductive health in Sri Lanka, one that we hope will spark transformative changes both in Sri Lanka and globally. Today's presence in such a diverse assembly of professionals, advocates, and changemakers is a testament to the importance we all place on advancing SRHR. This gathering is more than a collection of sessions. It is a commitment. A commitment to creating safer, more equal societies where individuals have the knowledge, resources, and rights to make informed choices about their health and well-being. As we have seen today, and as we will continue to explore over the next 2 days, SRH is a complex field. It spans from adolescent health to family planning, subfertility, and rights-based care and beyond. The challenges we face in delivering SRH services are immense, but so are the opportunities to innovate, collaborate, and drive change. Our strategic vision at FPA Sri Lanka, boldly beyond boundaries, is our pledge to push past limitations, to foster inclusivity, and to elevate knowledge sharing. ReproSex 2024 drives its spirit as a platform for sharing insights, research, and best practices, while also strengthening the bonds within the global SRH community. I take this opportunity to acknowledge the contribution made by Dr. Mahipala Herath, Secretary of Health, and other officers of Health Promotion Bureau, Family Health Bureau, and National STD AIDS Control Program, the NSICP. Special thanks to our chief guest, Ms. Manuel Hovitz, the keynote speaker, Dr. Iqbal Shah, and the conference chair, Professor Indralal De Silva. I also would like to thank all the members of the technical committee, abstract review panel, as well as my organizing committee. A special thanks to the clinical partners, including the Sri Lanka Medical Association, SLMA, National STD AIDS Control Program, NSACP, International Planned Parenthood Federation, IPPF, Center for Cancer Research, University of Sri Jawadanapura, Center for Evaluation, University of Sri Jawadanapura, Menopause Society of Sri Lanka, and Population Association of Sri Lanka. I would also like to remind you of the contributions made by the International Planned Parenthood Federation, Swedish Association of Sexuality Education, Global Fund Skipper 2 Project, Health Equity Matters, Sri Lankan Airlines, the travel partner, Center for Poverty Analysis, Selin Foundation, SureTex Limited in Thailand, Oulu Tropical Water, Hatton National Bank, and Vijay Newspapers, the print media partner. To all speakers, moderators, and attendees, thank you for your commitment and your enthusiasm. I'm confident that the discussions that we hold today will pave the way for impactful advancements in SRH, not just in Sri Lanka, but the world over. Together, let us make these 2 days a catalyst for a healthier, more informed, and empowered world. Thank you once again, and I look forward to the productive sessions and meaningful exchanges ahead.
Thank you very much to Dr. Rijita Pereira, the Executive Director, FPA Sri Lanka. And we also want to say a very special thank you to our technical partners, the Sri Lanka Medical Association, National STD AIDS Control Program, International Planned Parenthood Federation, Center for Cancer Research, University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Center for Evaluation, University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Menopause Society of Sri Lanka, Population Association of Sri Lanka, and our very valued sponsors, the International Planned Parenthood Federation, Swedish Association for Sexuality Education, Global Fund, SKPA 2 Project, and Health Equity Matters, Sri Lankan Airlines, official travel partner, Center for Poverty Analysis, Selin Foundation, SureTex Limited, Bangkok, Thailand, Oulu Tropical Water, Hatton National Bank, and the Vijay Newspapers Limited, our official print media partner. Let's give them all a big round of applause for making our event possible.